Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our World of Paws podcast.
Today we're covering the first season of the latest DC Comics show from the CW, Stargirl.
Based on the DC Comics stars and Stripe, after discovering the original Star-Spangled Kid's gear, teenager Courtney Whitmore joins the Justice Society of America,
or JSA,
as Stargirl, teaming up with her stepfather Pat Dugan in his robotic exosuit.
Yeah, although this isn't too accurate. Well, before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and make a notification bell to get up to some future podcasts and World of Paws videos.
Absolutely.
Actually, the real plot is that she don't want to deal with him until the later half of the season because she's mad at him and then she deals with their other students that have issues too.
This was an interesting choice to base a new superhero series on.
Yes.
We were really surprised, shocked. Of course, we were thinking of others that have come along and passed on, thinking they would get shows like Vixen and Static Shock and Green Lantern and other characters. But somehow they chose Stargirl to have a mantle on the CW network.
It seems that CW usually gets shows for characters that haven't had a TV show of their own spotlight. So I guess Stargirl was one of those characters that just a lot of people don't know about, so they decided to give her a TV show.
True. Because prior to this, I never heard of Stargirl. You probably have.
Yeah, a little bit from the
Encyclopedia, DC Encyclopedia.
And watched the Justice League. I remember being in that. The characters were in that, but they weren't like major characters till they had the one where they had all the heroes together.
Right, which is why. So yeah, the good thing is it was great to see Luke Wilson in a role. He hasn't had a role in a very long time. Fan of Luke Wilson and his brother Owen, so it was great to see him. And the person who plays her mom is also a pretty big actress. And
it seems like they got quite a few guest stars.
Smart.
Yeah, Amy Smart, yeah. And they have quite a few guest stars in here when they play the Injustice Society, or they have one-off characters that come in for an episode or two and then they're gone. So they do have a little bit of a star-studded cast in a way, no pun intended.
Henry Thomas from E.T.
Right. And for here, as you said, it's a little different. I think this almost seemed like it was filmed for DC Universe and they put it on the CW because the way it's filmed is actually very, very different. Because on the others you could tell they're on a set and they're limited. But in here it looks like they have a little more room in their budget to make more effects and have better music, bigger sets and designs and things. So you can tell there is an improvement on how they're making the show, and it's definitely a step up from Batwoman.
Well, it looks like, of course, this particular show was targeted for teens. It's the first show they've had on the CW, a superhero show, I should say, that's targeted for teens. Just like Legacies was targeted for teens in the supernatural ripoff area.
Right.
This one, you can definitely tell is targeted for teens. And that was kind of different from them because, you know, you have the other shows, and I thought they were targeted for everyone or family shows.
At one point they were
family shows, but but now this one really is targeted for teens. I guess to get them interested more in the CW, to boost ratings, increase viewership, because after the cancellation and retirement of some shows like Arrow, and you might as well say Supernatural, the Vampire Diaries, and other shows, the viewership has decreased.
Right, and also the Arrowverse being dwindled down to just a few shows because Arrow has finished, and you know some other shows will be on their way out soon. And some of the newer shows aren't doing so well, like with Batwoman and Black Lightning kind of going down in ratings a little bit. I guess they decided it's time to bring in a new show to replace Arrow. And since they dissolved the multiverse, so they have to find a way to get more characters in here without having to say it's an alternate universe or timeline or something. So.
Right. And this show kind of reminds me of Gotham because you look at the scenery and it gives you the impression that maybe it's not taking place in modern day, but then you see the technology and current events and different topics.
You're right.
And you know that it's current day, but the villains still seem to be based on characters from the 70s. So it's a strange show that reminds me of Gotham in terms of
the feel, the feel of it being not in the modern day time period. And I guess, you're right, because if you look at it, everyone acts like they're from the 50s, of how the city, with how the town looks.
And even Pat drives a classic car.
Right. And I guess it's supposed to be the cutesy little town. It's an average town with a dark secret type trope thing.
Right.
And here the secret is that because...
definitely not Riverdale.
No, it's not Riverdale, but you're getting there. Well, Courtney believes that Starman was her father, and that the staff is hers because she's his daughter, and she should be Stargirl. And this comes about after he finds that Pat used to be the sidekick to Starman. So she takes upon herself that she will become the superhero and form a new Justice Society of America. And this comes about when we see a flashback in the beginning of the series when the Justice Society has been killed off. I kid you not. They kill off all the heroes at the beginning of the series. First episode, the villains win, and the villains take over the town in secret, not like a world domination thing yet, but just that they're all running the town and no one knows they're super villains. They're pretty much just running things until they buy their time for world domination.
But you do find out that not world domination, but maybe the tri-state area,
right,
is their goal.
Yeah, pretty much. And for this theme of the show, it's supposed to present itself as a more fresher take. It says a new generation of justice, and it wants you to get into these new kids that take up the mantles of the old heroes that have been taken out. But unfortunately for this show, they kind of don't do such a good job in that. And by that I mean that every single kid in here has some type of issue at home, and the superhero thing seems to be their escape from reality type thing.
What was your name for it?
I said, they're supposed to be called the New Justice Society of America. I call them the League of Problematic Children because unfortunately, all the kids she deals with, she says she'll become the next heroes, like for next Wildcat, the next Hour Man, the next Dr. Mid-nite, spelled
Dr. Mid-nite.
Yes, for some reason. And she gives these kids she knows these I guess you could say they're not talisman, but something like that, where they used to belong to the original person and they wear it now and they get their powers.
Right.
But each kid has a problem, and then it's supposed to be that they overcome it with these powers, but no, like I said, it's an escape. It's an escape because every single kid is like borderline insane.
And all of them are ostracized from the high school community.
Right.
None of them are popular, none of them are liked, and no one wants to deal with them. And how they end up really meeting each other is they end up eating at the same table that has been set aside for the kids no one wants to deal with.
Yeah.
Which was, maybe it was possibly part of the original comic book.
Possibly. I mean, when I looked it up, there are, not the descendants, but there are kids people that do take on the mantle of the original hero. Like, there is a second Wildcat, and there probably isn't in Our Man. I haven't read all of it, but they do exist. So it's not that they just made up something. It's just that how
they're meeting.
Yes, it's how they did it. Right. Yeah. And the thing is, like we said, everyone has an issue, and it borderlines them going nuts because they just have pretty much crappy lives to begin with. I mean, they start out fine. The tragedy happens. Usually they have, the tragedy turns them into a hero. Not everybody can be Batman because some of them don't handle it the same way. You got one girl that was humiliated because some pictures on the phone. Family never forgave her for it, so she becomes a superhero. You got this kid, lost his parents. He's got anger issues, and he's, mentally unstable. And the girl gives him the power to have super strength, and the first thing he wants to do is go destroy somebody. Are you sure you want him to be the superhero? They all got whoops.
Another one who no one talks to her. She says her parents are her best friends, but they don't want that. and they tell her don't say that, and they spend no time with her or talk to her.
Yeah.
And to me, her story reminds me of Victor Stone, because that was the claim he always made prior to him becoming Cyborg.
Yes.
And then you have the one son who is a kid of the villain.
Yeah, it's called Brainwave Jr. Right, is what he's dubbed.
Who's kind of like on the cusp of whether he can become good or whether he can become evil.
Yeah.
And she ends up dealing with him as well due to some extraneous circumstances, like they were picking on her. And so she dresses Stargirl, takes him down, destroys his car, beats him up, makes his dad angry with him.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happens in here. We don't want to reveal like too much since we know there's a second season coming. Right. And there is a second season coming for sure because of its cliffhanger at the end, and we know it's a renewal you've seen online.
But we're not sure if it's going to be on the CW or not, because we read rumors that it was going to DC
Universe, yeah.
But then when the season ended, it says returning to the CW. So I guess we'll find out later.
Right. And like I said, there are lots of improvements in here, like in the music, the set designs, the filming. There is a marketable difference between this and the other CW shows in terms of how it looks. But when it gets to like its storyline, it starts off actually interesting, but then as it goes on, it starts actually slipping into sort of madness.
And then toward the last 3 episodes, then it picks up where it left off before it descended into madness, and actually has a great ending to the season, which we weren't expecting.
Right.
Now, as far as character growth, to me, the only one who seemed to have character growth was Courtney.
Yes, pretty much it, because of how she started.
She started off pretty rough, pretty rude. And the thing about Courtney that didn't make sense to me, as you said, they were problematic children, it wasn't clear as to why she was a problematic child. Her father died some time ago. Her mom paid attention to her. Her mom was good to her. Her mom was involved in her life. Her mom found a nice guy to marry, and the guy has a son who really wanted to be like a brother with her. But for some reason, in the beginning of this series, Courtney just wasn't having any of it. And to me, she was the only one that didn't have issues in her home life that she should have been like this. All the others did, but she didn't. So it was weird that her character was a problem child when technically her home life was fine.
Right. And I think what they were attempting to deliver to the audience but doesn't work because you don't see why she would be so angry is because she doesn't like her mom remarried. That's basically why she's so angry. She doesn't like Pat until, again, her character development, and that's pretty much the source of her being like this in the beginning of the series. She doesn't like that she remarried, and that's really it.
And which was also still strange because she says herself, I think it was within the first 3 episodes, that he's a nice guy. And she knows he loves her mom. So what's your problem?
Exactly. There's really no reason for you to be like this. If you're aware, it's like, what, just teen angst because CW? Do we just need it because the CW requires it because of Riverdale? What's your problem?
So not only does Courtney's character have actual character growth, but I would say the actress Brett Basinger as well. They started off... she had a different look when she started. You can see her grow into the character. You can see her becoming more confident and actually having a grasp more on the character as the series goes on. And maybe that was also part of getting the audience to accept her as Stargirl and to accept this character as a legitimate and valid and relevant superhero.
Right.
It was all built into it. But you actually do see her character growth. You see at the end that she's learned a lot. She's learned the truth about a lot of things. Her attitude changes and improves. She finds out she has people that love her. Excuse me. And her little superhero team wasn't dissolved as you thought was going to happen early on.
Yeah. And And plus, they really had towards the end. They have actually introduced like some other villains and characters in here besides the villains who just keep winning in here. They actually introduced some characters from Young Justice that have been adapted to here. They have Sportsmaster and his wife Tigress, and they even have
super evil. They are way worse in here than they ever were in Young Justice.
Yeah, they have nothing.
It makes you long for the Young Justice character.
Yeah, and Artemis is in here as well, but for her parents.
So they say.
Yeah.
We never see her.
Well, yes, we did. Yes, we did. She's the one on the football team. They won't let her on because she's a girl, and the parents keep taking out every new coach. That's literally their whole character.
Okay, we never see her in costume.
Oh, well, that's true. We don't know if she's a hero, so yeah, I wish. And it's like, yeah, the whole characters, all they do is just take people out. They are like bloodthirsty people that just love taking people out every chance they get, and they miss the days, but that's all they could do every day. It's like, these are people unstable. You sure you want them being around in the daytime? and then also, speaking of which, gets towards the end of the season, is that they also bring up this sort of controversial thing of how heroes should treat villains and what's the sense of justice. It comes out of nowhere because we know how the characters are because they all got issues. But they even bring up a point where they they're suggesting that some heroes should get a pass to kill off a villain, because if the villain is evil and has done some unforgivable wrongness, it should give the hero a right to kill them. And it's like, where did this all come from? I thought this was the more upbeat superhero show. Why is this in here?
Well, I definitely can tell you this is not Batman's universe.
No, that's why it's kind of disturbing that they even bring this up.
And now that you've mentioned that, another thing that for me was disturbing is how this, and this is going to be a spoiler, so it's a spoiler that needs to be said.
Yeah, you
so
might want to watch out.
You can stop listening now, or you can fast forward. Is that this series keeps killing kids? I mean, killing them. It's not they get hurt, you think they're going to come back, or you think they're dead and they're not. No, they kill them and they make it clear that they're dead.
They're on-screen deaths, yeah. It's really off-putting. It's worse than what Disney does. They did it once, and then they got into so much trouble for it, they never did it again. But CW seems to oddly revel in killing off kid characters or teenage characters, even when it's not DC Comics.
Even when it doesn't progress the story, even when you don't find where it was absolutely necessary that it be done. 2 out of 3 cases, the story could have proceeded without the death of the teen. So for me, this is the worst part of the show.
Yeah, I agree.
The constant killing of teenagers. And I really hope in season 2 that it stops, because this part I'm just not liking.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it had actually a not so bad start and looked like it was improving, but it gets towards the end, and aside from the happier ending with, as you should expect for the hero's outcome, there's not a lot of positive things to say about the show in terms of the writing and the storytelling and things. It does some things well. It does give off a good mystery at times, but there are just times where it's just like, what is going on with the show?
Well, it's also the first season. It's also the first time that CW has a target audience of teenagers, much younger viewers. It's the first time they've put a teenage girl as the main character in a series. It's the first time they've had a series besides The Flash that centers around a family, because most of these series have broken families or disconnected families, where here, several characters within the series were actually family units in this town where families are together.
Right.
And last but not leastly, I'm not familiar with Brec Bassinger. Maybe others are, but it's the first time I've seen her, and they've given an actress who most people aren't familiar with a lead role.
Exactly.
So I think there has to be some forgiveness, some leeway giving the audience, including ourselves, a chance to get used to her, the story. And again, we don't know much about Stargirl.
Right.
So I'm hoping season 2 will be much better, vastly improved, better writing, more action that does not involve the death of teens, and a different storyline, definitely, because how it ended, the arc that took up the entire season 1 can't take season 2.
Right.
So, if you have seen Stargirl, either several episodes, or you watched and you stopped watching, or you watched it all the way through like we did, let us know what you think in the comments below. In addition, if you are familiar with this DC comic book character, and you know her backstory, or you know if this series stays in line with the original origin story of the comics, let us know that as well in the comments below.
Yes. And be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and Paws videos.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for watching. I'm Ask Entertainments.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting, flashing lights, trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. Hit her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in the form of a locket.